ResortLoop.com is proud to be sponsored by Joffrey's Coffee and Tea Company. Joffrey's now offers coffee subscriptions. You can order a 3, 6, or 12-month subscription. You can choose from 3 collections: the Flavored Coffee Collection, the Roastmasters Collection, or the Disney Signature Coffee Collection. Each collection includes 3 bags per month. With the Joffrey's Coffee subscriptions, never run out of great coffee again. Learn more and order at Joffreys.com.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
We are now passing through the Transportation and Ticket Center on our way to the Polynesian Village Resort Hotel. If you'd like to return to the Transportation and Ticket Center, you may do so by boarding an express monorail at the Magic Kingdom station.
Hey, everybody, thanks for joining us. I'm Tim Scott. This is ResortLoop.com, the gateway to the magic. It's time for the DVC Roundtable show. Joining us for the 5th anniversary, the DVC Roundtable is 5 years old, is Miss Rebecca Toon.
How are we 5 years old? I mean, I act like I'm 5 years old sometimes.
Crazy.
Happy anniversary, and thanks for having us or putting up with us.
It's my pleasure. Also joining us, Emily Hansa Hicks.
I just want to know if anybody's actually listened to us for 5 years, or if it started off with some really great numbers and then just declined year after year after year. With a slight bump when Brad joined us. If there was like a slight bump then.
Oh, it may have. We'll have to check out the numbers. Speaking of Brad, also joining us, Mr. Brad Coates.
5 years. Happy anniversary.
Oh, thank you, Brad. And also,
that's what I forgot tonight. Just kidding.
What's a DVC Roundtable without the big Q? Joe Quattrochi.
Tim, what's going on, brother? Hey, howdy. Hey, everybody.
I'm never going to refer to him as anything but the big Q from now on.
There you go.
Whatever happened to the original Super Looper? I haven't heard that in a while.
You haven't. I left that off.
That was 5 years ago, Joe.
No, that was actually more than 5
please.
years. That was probably like 6 or 7 years, because I was lucky enough to be brought on to talk about Run Disney stuff with Tim and Bob back in the day.
You've been rebranded.
I guess
it
happened.
We've repacked
You're Super Q now.
I like it. Hello, everybody.
What's the traditional 5-year anniversary gift? I'm curious.
I think it's Tylenol.
Free trip to Aulani.
Trip to Aulani.
DVC add-on, right?
Resort.
DVC add-on.
Credit card, break it out.
Oh, I just want to give a brief shout out, just for a second, just one of the original DVC Roundtable members who's gone on to bigger and better things, Mr. Chris Malik.
Oh, Chris, we missed you.
He is missed.
I'm going to see if I can get him on the show in the future, because love Chris Malik. You might hear me over there, actually, sometime soon.
It's good people. I still get Christmas cards from him. We still exchange, our family still exchange Christmas cards every year.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, that is awesome.
I got it just a couple weeks ago with the mail.
I think, also, Tim, did you get my card, Tim?
I got yours last week.
Okay. I was about to say, I think I got Joe's last week.
Yes. I was going to send you a note. I forgot.
If anybody here didn't get a card.
5-year gift is wood.
Wood, okay.
Huh.
Wood.
I have to admit, I think Brad and Emily didn't get one this year because I think I was going off an older list. So I'm sorry, guys.
Right.
Sorry,
well, that's okay because it's like my 3rd
year.
year. Yeah, I keep making Christmas cards. I actually have them printed from last year, but they never actually hit the mail. And then I thought about sending them this year as like a joke.
Yes.
And then like with a little letter. But I actually didn't get around to that either. So, I mean, like, would it be funny in 2022 is what I wonder, if there's like a backlog of like clearly retroactively printed.
Just send all the Christmas cards at the same time.
Right. Yeah. Just like, these are the ones that I never got to. Sorry.
Like every day you get another one. Wait a minute. Didn't I just get one yesterday and the day before and the day before?
Binge watching somebody's family grow over the years.
Right.
That'd be awesome.
By the way, Joe, I didn't get a card. I realized, but I did send you a package. If it gets past the bomb sniffing dogs, you should get it.
Oh,
okay. I appreciate that. I have not gotten anything, but I haven't checked the mail today, so I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm just straight up negligence here. I apologize to everyone that I have hurt this year with my failure to mail anything to you.
Listen, I don't
have any of your addresses,
but I'll be
so
happy to buy any of you a drink.
That's right. I'm saving up all that money that would have been spent in postage. Oh, you know what? Mail is so crazy right now. I could just say I sent things, but that would be a lie. That would be a lie.
You just admitted it on, national.
Darn it, this is being recorded. I'm above that.
So Tim, thanks for giving us 5 years of this.
Right.
You're very welcome, everyone. But
the Tylenol part.
to kick off going into our 5th year anniversary, I thought this would be a good idea. We're going to title the show, How Does the DVC Roundtable DVC? Because if you're a relatively new listener, you might not know who rents, who buys the home resort. So I just thought this would be a good show. Get everybody reacquainted with the roundtable who might just be new listeners. So I think we'll start.
Love it.
We're going to start. Miss Rebecca Toon, how do you...
Well, I think I will
DVC?
be in the big minority in this group this evening. Because
It's an important minority, though.
You know,
Right.
so when Joe lets me visit, that's how I DVC.
Right.
No, I have actually, since we started the show, my perspective, and still has always been as a renter. I rent points and stay at DVC. So I don't know if you're looking for the whole spiel, if we're going to kind of go round table and do point by point, but that is how I DVC from the 32,000 feet, as I am a renter, not an owner. I've looked at several contracts. I've always been on the cusp of buying. I continue to learn new things from Joe and Brad and Emily, and probably will pull the trigger someday, although haven't been super thrilled with them lately, so still on the fence on that one, but love to rent the points.
What would push you over the edge to jump on one of the contracts you've looked at? What kind of contracts are you looking at?
So I'm looking at, for me, I'd be the way I DVC, because I'm now what is considered an empty nester, although these kids are here all the dang time.
Right.
I really only need studios unless I plan on, and so I'm sort of at the point where my kids are grown, but I'm not in the grandkid stage yet. So I really just need space for me. So I typically will have a studio. So I'm looking for a smaller contract. It will definitely be a resale contract, even with Disney sort of pulling some of the perks from resale contracts. I will still probably buy resale. And the biggest advice that these guys have ever given me, which I've taken completely to heart and would never consider violating, is buy where you want to stay. And so for me, that is Boardwalk or Beach Club.
Great choices.
Excellent choices.
It's not the Grand Flow, Emily, but
Hey, those are solid. We've stayed probably at Boardwalk at least as many or maybe more times than we have at Grand Flow, and definitely more times at Boardwalk and Beach Club combined.
It's a no-brainer from Food and Wine Festival and this is all under the auspice that someday Disney will return to what we consider somewhat normal.
Of course.
But the ability to walk into the gateway and have the Food and Wine Festival, have Epcot, which is my personal favorite park, right there at your fingertips, is a really huge bonus. It's not to say I don't like other resorts. I love Animal Kingdom Lodge. I love Saratoga Springs. It's just to say that the advice you guys have given over the years about buying where you want to stay, I think has become more important than ever. So it would be Boardwalk or Beach Club, and what I'd be looking for is just a smaller resale.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Awesome. Rebecca, have you stayed since the Skyliner opened up and there's Skyliner access there?
I have not.
I just wondered how you enjoyed that.
I am so ready. I don't know. I don't know how much longer I can hold out.
I know.
To be honest,
I'm with you on that. Oh my goodness.
I between TikTok, going home videos on the internet, and all of these things, I'm just really itching to go back. And of course, people who've known us for the past 5 years know that I used to travel, 5 or 6 times a year. So it wasn't anything for me just to be like, oh yeah, I'm going this weekend. And that has been curtailed with the pandemic. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. There's so much new stuff there.
Awesome. All right. So Rebecca's an recent empty nester. We know her story. Let's go to Emily Hansa Hicks. What's your how do you DVC?
Absolutely. So I'll rewind real quick back to the beginning, which is I always had my eye on DVC since probably I was 18 or so. And when my husband and I had kids, I pretty much very quickly, with a 1-2, clever sucker punch got him to actually we had a test trip planned, and I got him to purchase even before the test trip. So we got a resale contract and a direct contract, Grand Floridian and Saratoga, because we knew we wanted to have family vacations. So our daughters were, when we bought it, they had basically just turned 1, right? We closed, I think, right around their first birthday. And we figured he didn't vacation much as a child, and I vacationed a lot as a child, but with my family. So I wanted to make sure that was a part of our lives, that we always got to get away. We also have both sort of demanding jobs, so we wanted to have time together. We wanted to make sure that we were taking at least 2 trips a year. So we bought enough points to at least take one of those trips to Disney World, with the idea that the other trip would be somewhere else, which everybody who does buy DVC ends up discovering that no, you're just going to take all your trips, all your 4 trips a year to Disney World. So quickly grows out of control. But we called it our vacation 401k, because we figured as long as we could afford the annual dues years to year, that we could go on vacation with our kids, even if we were in a personal economic slump. As long as we could get there, we could live on ramen and Kraft macaroni and cheese for a week and just enjoy the gorgeous resorts, because we paid cash upfront for the contracts. So that's how we started off. And then, of course, a few years later, we added a resale contract to Grand Floridian, because we decided that those points were holding their value really well. We love Grand Floridian. And the way we DVC now, which as contrasted to the one-week trip we were going to take in a studio or a 1-bedroom, I think we always knew a 1-bedroom. But now we have, rapidly grown out of the 1-bedroom, although we still haven't stayed in a 2-bedroom. But darn, are we ready to. And so because we have 3 children that are much larger now, and they promise to keep growing. So we're looking at those 2 bedrooms. So, yeah, and the way we kind of do it is we do it as owners. We have an owner's locker, so we have like shampoo, and we if we ever kept track of it well enough, we would probably be able to just live out of that thing, because we also have salt and pepper, olive oil. We have pajamas, extra bathing suits, flip-flops. So our dream was, and maybe it will return to like a very realistic idea, is that we could actually just fly down there with like a backpack and 2 changes of clothes and make it for a week out of our owner's locker. But we do love the big kitchens. We like to cook on vacation. We both like to cook a lot, so it's kind of nice. We like to cook, but at home it seems kind of like a chore, but on vacation it seems like a pleasure. So we order groceries for the most part. We do a couple of fancy meals or grab quick service here and there. We're not bound to it. And we've gotten a little bit more lax on that recently. Like, we'll eat out more than we used to as the kids got older and more tolerable in public. So yeah, we've sort of evolved from sort of a more like cozy family experience to a little bit more of an adventurous experience. But we've always taken advantage of the Disney childcare stuff. And it really does end up feeling like a home away from home. It's really hard to pick a resort. Of course, you should buy where you want to stay, because we're always happy if we end up at Saratoga or Grand Floridian. But I will tell you, we ended up more and more recently, we are at Boardwalk Beach Club or Animal Kingdom, just because of their locations and the fact that the resort alone is really sort of entertaining to be in just by itself, and you wouldn't even have to go anywhere. Now, that's true of Grand Floridian too, and Saratoga, but Animal Kingdom is, staggering when you consider what's outside the balcony. And then, and Boardwalk and Beach Club are just such an easy walk to Hollywood Studios or to Epcot, which are our 2 favorite parks probably right now. Like, we could skip Magic Kingdom and we could skip Animal Kingdom for an entire trip and probably wouldn't miss it too much. But if we skip Epcot or Hollywood Studios, we feel like we didn't go. But we're going to miss Magical Express, because that's one of our big reasons to have purchased, although the kids are out of strollers now, so it won't be the biggest deal. But yeah, so we kind of purchased in. The way we DVC'd was just like, this is the easiest vacation we can take. It's entertaining for everybody. We can sort of live our life normally there. We can keep costs under control if we want to. And we can just have a really relaxing time as a family with enough space that we're not trying to get like two adjoining hotel rooms or something like that. It really feels like a place you can settle in for a week or so. So that's how we DVC.
I love how you use the owner's locker, because for those listening who have never stayed or aren't aware, that the one bedroom and everything above that has its own washer and dryer, so you're able to do your own laundry and pack it back up into the owner's locker.
Yes, and we do laundry like every single day. So
you don't sweat in Florida. Come on.
Never. And children, they never get their clothes disgusting. I mean, dirty.
Oh, they never get Mickey bars down their fronts.
Right?
Oh, my goodness. Brad Coates. Brad, how do you and your family DVC?
How do we DVC? Well, so quick synopsis. We were Disneyland people in the beginning. Limited budget, stayed at all the cheap hotels. And one year we decided we would splurge and stay at one of them fancy Disney hotels. So we booked into Paradise Pier. We thought we died and gone to heaven. Little did we know, we were still staying at the one across the street. But we stayed there, and that's when my wife talked me into doing because they were offering free fast passes or whatever it was at the time, to go hear the spiel on DVC. Long story short, we bought our first contract. That was 2014. We bought our first contract. Saratoga Springs was what they were selling at the time, but we bought because they kept telling us, oh, we're going to be building DVC out here too. So little did we know we were going to be waiting a long time for any kind of DVC we could do at Disneyland without owning there. You know, they do have the Grand California, but it's so small, and even if you own there, the 11-month window, you got about 30 seconds to book a room. I mean, it's crazy. But anyway, that's how we started. Our kids were young at the time. So in the beginning, it was always studios because we wanted to, we bought a 200-point contract the first time, and we wanted to stretch it. So we would, we started out with staying in studios at Disney World. And then eventually we fell in love with split stays. Because we wanted to try every resort. So we'd stay, for those of you, I'm sure everybody knows what it is, but in case you don't, you stay for part of your stay in one resort, and then you take your bags down to guest services as you're going to the parks that day and say, please transfer my luggage over to the next DVC resort. And then when you're done with the parks for the day, you just go to that resort, your bags are there waiting for you, and you keep on going in a brand new experience. And so we started getting into that. Then one year we splurged and did the 1-bedroom, and my kids were like, we're never going back. But then we splurged for a 2-bedroom, and then it was like, man, the offers I got, the things they were willing to do if I would just book another 2-bedroom. But we really didn't have enough points to do that a lot. So the last two, so that's kind of how we were. We were studio people. Then what we do is do a split stay, and then the second part of our stay we do a 1-bedroom because it includes a washer and dryer built in, and also with the kitchen that we didn't usually cook the first couple of days, but then to save a little money we would use the kitchen on the last couple of days, and then we had the washer and dryer, so we didn't have to pack as much. So we kind of dialed it in that way. Now never thought I'd really be a 2-bedroom guy, but the last two trips. Well, I say the last trip and the one coming up in June, we have to do 2-bedroom now, because I thought once my daughter got married that this thing would thin out, and my youngest daughter is in college and she would be off on her own thing, and it would be mom and I going on our own private Disney trips, like Joe gets to do. But basically, my son-in-law has become a part of our Disney entourage. So now there's 5 of us. So 2 bedrooms are what we do the last couple of times. So that's kind of where we are. That's been our process. Oh, we did end up buying a second contract because we wanted more points. We fell in love with the Animal Kingdom Resort. That's still my favorite resort. And so I did buy a small contract there. So we actually have 2 contracts.
Nice. Yeah, I was going to ask about your, if you had any more points, but you just got into that. That's fantastic. So do you have enough points now to do everything you need to do?
Well, Not really. We'd like to do more. I only bought a second contract of 50 points, which and like I said, the way we do it, I get a lot done out of that 250 points. However, as we're looking towards handing these contracts off to the kids, we're looking seriously at buying some more points at Animal Kingdom so that a little bit more fair equity. One kid gets Animal Kingdom, so we may add up to 150 more to Animal Kingdom here in a year or so.
Gotcha. Would you go resale?
Yeah, for sure. We'll go resale. Our second contract was resale, but we bought it early enough that it's grandfathered in with a blue card. So if we give that to the kids, then they'll have a blue card. So they'll be okay. Both contracts will have a blue card.
Awesome. That's great to hear. All right, Joe Quattrochi, the original Super Looper.
Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. How do you and your lovely wife DVC?
So this all started back. So a fun fact, Tim, is I actually made my offer on a DVC resale contract back in 2014 while staying at Disney's Port Orleans French Quarter. I was actually in my hotel room when I made the offer, which was kind of crazy. We were scouting contracts for a while. And back in 2014, there was no resale restrictions. And I had subscribed to one of there's a couple different major time sale DVC resale market sites, and I would get emails. And a friend of mine contacted me who actually owns that. He did own at Bay Lake Tower. He actually now owns at Saratoga. He actually sold all his points and bought twice as many at Saratoga. Go figure. He was actually smart to do that. But he's like, hey man, this is a really good contract. And at first I didn't see it, and it was a 150 point contract it had 150 points banked in the bank. And that's something that if you're looking at contracts right now, sometimes people will use their banked points and they'll try to sell them. So really you have to wait like another year and a half to use your points. Well, this one was one that had points already banked, which was absolutely amazing. And it fit right into our budget. And at the time, Saratoga wasn't an expensive resort, and the maintenance fees were pretty good. And it's just what fit our bill. I mean, right at that point in my Disney fandom, I just wanted to stay on property. It had been years, and I had talked about Orange Lake Resort, and this was before Jen and I moved to Florida. We had stayed off property a lot in between my vacations as a kid and now being a DVC owner as an adult. I just wanted to get back on property. And this contract was the right price. The maintenance fees were the right price. Never had stayed at Saratoga before. I had been through there. Yeah, I played golf at Lake Buena Vista before, and I knew where it was. And it used to be the old Disney Village Resort and all that good stuff back in the day. And so I bought it. I said, hey, I'm just going to buy it. You can get stay other places. No big deal. I just want to be on property. And we actually found out, we made the offer and it was accepted. There was really I think there was only one back and forth with the person. It was very seamless. I mean, we paid whatever the points are now. We actually got a really good deal, and we closed, and we've absolutely loved it. And we've actually fallen in love with Saratoga Springs. I mean, I've talked about this before, where Jen and I we had gotten some points from a friend of ours and stayed at Animal Kingdom Lodge, and that's a big, obviously Brad's talking about it, and that's a fan of a lot of people at Animal Kingdom Lodge. We really didn't care for it too much. Like it was nice, but we weren't really taking full advantage of all the safari and all that stuff. And we really feel at home at Saratoga. And going back to what Rebecca says, you got to find a place that, buy where you want to stay. And we've grown to love Saratoga. I love the theming. I love the colors of the buildings. I love being by Disney Springs. I love being by the golf course. I love Turf Club. Everybody knows that. And we've stayed at a lot of the resorts. I mean, and I think I've stayed at every DVC except Grand Californian, Vero, and Riviera. And, I'd say the top three for us would be, Saratoga, Boardwalk, and Polynesian villas. We've stayed at, Bay Lake Tower. It was okay. It was nice. We've stayed at the Grand Floridian. It was nice. But, those are the three that, Jen and I really prefer. We had bought resale. Like I said, the deal was right. We eventually added on a smaller contract, a 30 point contract at Saratoga as well. It got to the point we liked Saratoga so much, and we wanted to keep everything as simple as possible with the use years, and we've talked about that before. Try to match up your use years, if you can. And so we got the same resort, same use year, 30 points. We have 180. It's not a lot, but it's just Jen and I. We don't have any children. We don't really bring extended family or friends. If they do, they'll usually get their own accommodations, or other friends have DVC. So it's not like we have to host people per se. And it works out great for us. I mean, if I were to add on after this, I would still go resale. I mean, for what DVC is charging, unless my wife really wanted to get like a boardwalk contract or a Polynesian contract, or even like an Old Key West contract. But I mean, I don't really see that in the future right now. I mean, we have so many points in the bank right now because Disney's really not 100% open right now. And it's kind of hard to visit right now. It really is with the park reservations and stuff. But that's how we did it. It's been great. I mean, I have no regrets at all. I love being a DVC owner. I'm on this show. I feel like I should be compensated by the Walt Disney Company for advocating for DVC. I've tried talking many people into it. I mean, if you're listening to this show, you're obviously a diehard Disney fan, and I think it can work out for you. I think this is the way I look at it too, Tim. Is even with the parks not 100% open, Jen and I can still, even though if people don't know, we live in Metro Daytona Beach. We're about an hour and 20 minutes away from property. We could still justify using those points for what we pay a year for maintenance. We could still justify using those points and just vacationing with like the restaurants in locally Orlando, the golf courses, the pools. I don't need the parks to enjoy those resorts. So for us, it's still good, even though the parks are 100% open. We love it. We usually just do a small studio, and I know we'll probably get into a little bit more of the specifics about how we use the rooms and stuff, but we're mostly a studio family. I mean, we like to eat out and stuff. We like to take advantage of Tables in Wonderland, especially as DVC owners. That's still available right now. So yeah, that's kind of a little history of us, but never bought from Disney Direct. We've done the tour before. Very tempting, but always been resale. And Saratoga has always been our home resort.
Well, I'm going to talk about myself for a little bit, which I usually don't do on the show. But since it's the 5th anniversary,
we don't let you.
Well, one, you don't let me. Two, I'm just going to mute everybody right now. I would never. But in full disclosure, I'm not a DVC member. Fresh out of college, I didn't go into a field where it paid a lot right at the beginning. So I was always kind of catching up, and we never really was able to make the leap. But then as we got into the show, I was like, I want to do some specialty DVC shows. I can't do it. I'm not a member. So I reached out to all the Roundtable members. We've been going for 5 years. We've shared a lot of great information. And I'm not positive, but I think we might have been one of the first all DVC podcast shows.
I think we were.
Or episode-wise. I know the whole show isn't DVC. The whole podcast, but specific episodes totally dedicated to DVC. I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, I remember back when we first started talking about DVC Roundtable, I had been searching for DVC podcasts when I was, selling my husband on this and researching. And I remember thinking, this is a real area of opportunity for some podcasts because there's a lot of people out there that are curious and that are members and they're super involved and excited, but there isn't a podcast outlet for it. And I'm so glad that you guys did it because this has just been such a fun opportunity for 5 whole years. I can't believe it's 5 years.
It's totally crazy. But I want to go around that horn one more time. I just want to ask everybody, if somebody out there is on their fence, they're thinking, I want to go DVC, whether it be direct or resale. What is your maybe one bit of advice outside of, buying where you want to stay? Because we've made that clear over 5 years. Start with Rebecca. No, and it's the best, actually some of the best advice you could get, because that's one of the questions people always ask. But if someone's on the fence, what maybe you recommend?
Oh, that's a good question.
They're not thinking of that. They should need to know. Rebecca, you go.
So, wow. So one thing besides buy where you want to stay.
I knew you would say it. I knew somebody was going to say it.
I have said it. I would continue to say it. Think about how you vacation and think not just about where you want to stay because, this resort is really pretty. Like, for instance, Animal Kingdom Lodge is a beautiful resort. And if I am taking more trips without park visits, then that might have been my home resort. But think about how you vacation, and not only think about how you vacation, but think about how you'll vacation in the future, because location matters. Location matters, I think, more than ever. And it not only like where you physically are, but what's around you. For instance, one of the additional reasons I love Boardwalk and Beach Club is because it is so close to Boardwalk and Epcot. And I am sure this will come as no surprise to anyone who has listened to a single podcast with us in the past 5 years. I love my bar trips. And so for me, when I want to stay somewhere, I look at those things. I look at the lounges, I look at the bars, I look at the restaurants, because I'm a huge foodie. I love drinks. And so those things are what are important to me. And to Brad, that may not be as important to him. So he may vacation very differently. So my advice to you is don't just go to the pretty resort or to the resort that you think you would like the best. Really focus on how you vacation and what's important to you when you're vacationing.
I love that. That is great advice. Emily, what's your advice to everybody?
Oh man,
to go to the bar, Rebecca.
Right, obviously. If you can make that happen, I advise that. So unless you have extremely restricted travel, unless you have extremely restricted vacation time, or you have been vacationing to Disney regularly for many years, you should expect that your Disney consumption will increase significantly once you're a DVC member. So you should try to purchase, sounds like a real estate pitch, purchase more points than you think you're going to need, and be prepared to add on or have a plan for that, because you will feel the point creep. We've all joked about it, but we bought the points. We thought we were going to go once a year for a week, maybe 2 times a year, and always in the off season. Then, the kids grew a little bit and we started going on the spring break trip, add in a cruise or a Run Disney trip. And next thing you know, the points are borrowed till they can't be borrowed any longer. So I would say that unless you really, really, really are positive you're not going to be going to Disney World any more than you already are, assume that once you're in DVC, you're going to want to be there even more. And it's going to feel like it's a sunk cost. Why not go? I already have Tables in Wonderland. I have an annual pass. Ha ha ha. And so why not just throw on a weekend trip, or why not just, so I would say plan for the creep. And I think that's probably the best advice. The other thing I would say real quick is don't buy it thinking you're going to buy it forever. Really think about how long you plan to actively vacation, and maybe even stagger your purchases. We purchased some so that they were going to have, we actually purchased our resorts a lot by their use, or by how many years are left on the contract. So if you only think you're going to really be vacationing for, 30 more years actively to Disney that many times, then maybe just get a contract at one of the older legacy resorts and not worry. Just use it up. Don't think about reselling it at the end. Just say, I'm going to use this until I can't use it any longer. Or, if you really, I just wouldn't get too lost in the whole idea of, can I will it to my kids? That we were really concerned about that early on. And now I'm thinking, heck, I may be vacationing on this thing till the actual contract expires. So the kids will be lucky if I die early enough for them to inherit it. So yeah, I would say just think of it as like a sunk cost, and that you're going to use it up. And then if you resell it, fine. If you decide you want to get out of it, fine. But don't think of it as an investment, but do think of it as something that's really going to increase your consumption of Disney.
Awesome. Another great tip. Brad, what do you have for everybody?
So I think I would start with being the longest tenured DVC owner. It dawned on me, I did it again. I do this every time when I talk about our journey. I said we bought in 2014. We bought in 2004. Was our first contract. They were just opening Saratoga, and that wasn't even completely opened yet when we bought our first set of points. I think we bought the second contract in 2006, our first time we stayed at Animal Kingdom, and realized we needed more points, as has been mentioned. Didn't take long for that creep. But when we were looking at DVC, I mean, it had been around for a while, but in 2004, even though it had been around for a while, like Tim just mentioned, this show didn't exist. Shows like this didn't exist. And there's so many things that we did not know. I did not know about the reason why you need the same use year. I have 2 contracts with different use years. I can teach you about why you want to make sure, even if they're separate resorts, you have the same use year. But there was no place to go to that. So my number one tip for anybody that's out there looking, listen to this show. Go back and listen to old episodes. Learn before you step out and make a decision, listen. But can I encourage you, be careful not to make your decision based on analytics. It's been mentioned, yes, you need to pay attention. Do I have enough points to do what I want to do? But like was mentioned about Animal Kingdom, one of the things people say about Animal Kingdom is that, well, it takes so long, it's so far out there in the buses. But I would say I spend as much or more time when I stay at Saratoga trying to get to any of the resorts, because it has multiple stops sometimes when I'm in the resort. So it takes me just as long. And so don't overanalyze your decision. Some of that needs to really be about, and what was said, where do you want to stay? Especially what you'll learn from shows like this is there's certain resorts, if that's the one, if you want to stay beach club, you're in love with beach club, that's the one you want. If you're in love with Grand Californian and Disneyland, that's the one you want. Then you really must buy your points there, because they tend to book out at the 11-month window. There's certain resorts, they don't last. And so if that's where you want to go, you can't chance not to buy there. It just makes way more sense. But so research, listen, learn, and then look at the analytics, but really make the decision from your heart, because this is about creating magic for you and your family. In the end, it really is. We're blessed in that that first contract we bought, I could sell it today for quite a bit more per point than what I paid. Not very often you can say my timeshare went up in value.
Right.
That's not something that gets said, but I can say that. But in the end, I didn't buy it as an investment to sell later. I bought it specifically while my kids were young to create magical moments. And guess what? I got all I wanted and more out of DVC for the last 16 years. So,
wow. Brad Coates, our legacy DVC member.
Yeah, I'm not the super looper. I'm just the old guy.
You're still
Brett,
super.
I second that, because we if you look at the numbers and the value of your contract now and think, oh my gosh, if I sold that, I could. And then you just remember, but then I couldn't go to Disney World 4 times a year for however much money I sunk into it at the very beginning.
I get that every year. I look at it and I look at my wife and say, so are we about the time where we sell it? And she just looks at me, have you lost your mind?
Are you not
I
going
need to go on a
Disney
vacation. I don't need the kids. Let's go.
You want to rebuy this thing at today's prices? No way.
Yeah, no.
Crazy. Awesome. Well, speaking of the original Super Looper, we're going back to Joe. Joe, what's your bit of advice for everybody?
Well, Tim, first of all, the big piece of advice is buy where you want to stay. It's just, no, I'm just kidding.
I know.
So there you go. I was waiting for Rebecca.
Good show, everybody. We'll talk to you later.
We are nothing if not rule followers.
I know, right? If somebody's on the fence, right, and this has actually happened with my brother and my sister-in-law, they go like almost monthly. It's almost like obnoxious how many times they go, and they stay at various Disney hotels, Port Orleans, Coronado, Caribbean Beach, everywhere they go. And I've tried to talk them into it, and they just haven't pulled the trigger. This is kind of where they fit into it. And I've had these discussions with them before. And so the advice I would give them, somebody's on the fence, is if you're going to go DVC, and this is kind of a word that a lot of people use now, and I kind of see myself using it a lot, is you're almost committed to the Disney ecosystem. Like, you're committed to Disney trips. Even if it's once every 3 years. I mean, you could also essentially rent your points out too, but you're going to be involved with Disney some way or another for the foreseeable future of how long or how many years are left on your contract, depending on if you buy new or if you buy a resale and how many years are left on that contract. So you're committed to that Disney ecosystem. Also too is if you're somebody who likes to prepay your vacations, this is a great way to do it. I've said this before, Brad said it, Emily said it. It is much easier to, when your points replenish themselves and you go onto the DVC website, you want to book a vacation and you just start clicking points and there's no dollar sign assigned to it. You're not seeing a giant tax, you owe this much in tax, this much in parking. You just click in your points and it magically books your trip. Now, obviously you've prepaid for it. We understand that. You've bought a contract and you're paying dues on, your monthly maintenance dues, but it makes booking your trip a lot easier. So that's kind of nice. And that's a perk. Also too is if somebody's on the fence of buying DVC or not, make sure you can afford it. Everybody knows Disney's expensive. Everybody knows the prices of resorts are going up. And it's tempting to buy, like Emily, talks about you buy more points than you can. But yes, you need to have a realistic expectation of how you vacation and where you want to stay and how many points it's going to cost, because you're not going to buy a 60-point contract and be like, I want to stay 2 weeks at the Poly. It's not going to happen. Okay. But you need to have a realistic expectation of how many points you're going to need. But also too is this is not something where you need to, like, and I'm not here to tell you how to have your finances, but when Jen and I bought, we had the money put away already. We paid it off within like 3 months. We had saved for it. And we went and essentially almost paid cash for it because we knew we wanted to do it. We found a contract that was in our budget that we wanted, that worked for us. And it made it a lot easier because the last thing you want to do, and like Brad said, is he's had how many years of making magic? Do you really want to go to Disney knowing that like you're struggling to pay for your dues? When you see that DVC bill come every January, you're just like, ugh, they're chasing me down for my dues, or that monthly, payment. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want it to be magical. You know what I'm saying? You want to make sure it's in your budget. So that's another thing I would say. If you can do it, then it's great. But if it's something that's not really right for you financially, then don't do it. I'm saying that you don't want your Disney trips turning into something that's like a burden or a chore. It's the last thing you want. You know what I'm saying? The last thing I would say is, and going back to if somebody's on the fence, it's almost like buying a car, right? You need to look at your options. So if you're somebody who stays on property all the time, okay, look at your options. Our DVC member lounge is important to you. Honestly, they just renewed the Epcot member lounge for this year. This is like the 4th time they've renewed it. Like, it could go away anytime, but okay, so it's a member lounge. Is that important to you? The member magic parties. Okay, we haven't had any since COVID, but were those important to you back then? Discounts on merchandise and tickets. Okay, I mean, if you have an AP, if you still have one, you know what I'm saying? I know they've been canceling them. Does that affect you? Tables in Wonderland, are you eligible for that? If those things, as you go through the options, are important to you that you don't normally get when you pay cash and stay at a regular cash room resort, maybe DVC is for you. Maybe that is something that is going to is going to push you over the edge to go the DVC route rather than just staying at a regular resort. So it's like buying a car. Look at your options. I mean, if those are things that are important to you, the DVC member cruises, if that's something you want to do, which is a really bad use of points, but if that's something that's up your alley, then by all means. I mean, then maybe DVC is right for you. But that's what I'm always saying is look at your options, see what works for you, because everybody here, even like is there 5 of us here? Even the 5 of us here, I might have to count, right? All vacation differently at Walt Disney World. All of us. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're friends. We've been on this show for how many years? I've known Tim for 7 years. I've known Rebecca for 7 years. Emily for 7 years. Maybe Brad for 5. I don't know. It was 4 years since you've been on here. We all met each other in the parks before. We all do Disney differently. Yep. It's so there's no one model meets all for everybody. So that's why it's a big investment. Take your time with it. If you want to email us questions, we love answering questions here at the DVC Roundtable. Email us. We'd be happy to answer it. But that would be my best advice. And I'm a little long-winded there, guys. Sorry about that. But yeah, Tim, that's what I got.
Joe, that's fantastic. I'm just going to add on to that. If you're out there, you're driving around with your family, and you've been considering buying DVC, you're not sure which way you want to go, don't feel like you just have to email us some questions. If you'd like to come on the show, we'd love to have you on. We'll all talk to you at the same time. We'll talk about what you're thinking about. I think that'd be a fantastic show.
That would be so fun.
That would be so fun.
So if you're sitting on the fence or you want some advice, you'd like to come on the show, email me at tim@resortloop.com, and we'll set up something and We'll either talk you on one side of the fence or the other.
Yep. And that's one
We'll
thing.
push you off the fence one way or the other.
There you go.
Right.
Can I expand on that too, Tim?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because here's the thing. You'll notice with some podcasts, you can tell who's buttering their bread. Disney's not buttering our bread. We love Disney. That's why we're here.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is, for some people, it doesn't make sense to purchase direct.
Right.
It just makes sense to buy resale, etc. And I really appreciate what Joe said. As a person who started out in love, when my love for Disney started, my budget did not allow me to stay in a deluxe resort. That was something rich people did. That was not something we were ever going to do. And it's been a perk to that now. But the reality is, if you look at it and you say to yourself, listen, we really don't have the budget, but we want this to, if it's not about staying somewhere, nicer and creating that kind of a thing, and you're willing to invest, because right now you could stay at a value resort for cheaper than you can buy points.
Mm-hmm.
You could, if you don't go,
Right.
but once every 2-3 years, you're probably going to get your kids through, and you'd say you wouldn't necessarily spend it. But there's so like Joe said, there's so many other things you look at. In the end, it's been worth every penny we spent, but we got so much more out of it. And let me give you one quick last example of what Joe said. This is a perfect example. So just like Joe was saying, I was supposed to be leaving in 2 weeks to Aulani with my wife, and it got canceled for the third time.
Oh.
So I finally gave up. My wife's work is just not going to let up. So I'm sitting on points, and I had airfare. And so what do? I call up my 24-year-old daughter in college in Texas, and I looked at her school calendar and realized she had a spring break in March. I said, "Hey, kiddo, you've never seen Star Wars, seen the land there yet?" And she's a huge Star Wars fan. "You want to go?" And she said, "Yeah." Well, I had the points. I booked the rooms. I got a 2-bedroom Bay Lake Tower theme park view. We're staying in, and to pull it off, to spend that extra, I'm sorry, we got a 1-bedroom. No, we did a 2-bedroom there. And then to have the amount of points, I'm staying in an Animal Kingdom value room for the first couple of days for like 12 points a night. And so anyway, we're staying in these 2 deluxe resorts. We got the airfare taken. I'm doing the entire trip, basically, without them paying for the meals yet, $400.
Wow.
$400.
Nice.
It's like, and it was just like off the cuff, and we'll leave in, about middle of March, and we're on our way. But that's not something you can necessarily pull off without it. But with DVC, the way it works, you know what? These things are possible. So it is pretty cool how you can just kind of make the magic happen quickly when you own the points.
More great
Yeah,
insight.
I think I told you guys about the one time we were considering going to like London or something for a long weekend, and then we just decided or we could just go to Disney because it'll be way cheaper. It'll be like $400 max between airfare and food. We'll be fine. Let's just go to Disney.
Nice.
Romance.
It's just so easy.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
All right. Before we wrap, Rebecca, did you have one more thing you wanted to share?
I was sort of piggybacking on what they had said about, don't pay too much attention to the analytics as far as, Animal Kingdom would be too far or something like that. However, and I agree with that. However, do take the time if you make the purchase. And this is part of what I have never pulled the trigger on because I haven't done this yet. But if you're going to buy, and when you do buy, take the time, like Brad said, not necessarily when you're choosing, but once you've made the choice and made the purchase, learn what you've bought. I hear a lot of awful stories about people who own DVC and don't know how to use it. And they lose points because they don't bank points, or they bank
yeah. Oh my gosh.
realizing what that, and they they get this really awful view of DVC, but in reality, it is because it is never forget that DVC is a major financial purchase. And just as Joe said, make sure you can afford it. And Brad said, buy where you want to be. And Emily is always our financial guru here. Make sure you educate. It is silly to buy, a $300,000 car and not know how to drive a stick shift. And the same thing applies to DVC. Make sure that when you buy it, you invest the time to learn how to use it and use it well.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Wisdom.
Wow.
Yep.
It's what we're here for, right? Helping.
That's
right.
Up front.
That's why I say listen to those old
tell you
shows.
how to use your points.
I've owned how many years, and I've never lost a single point yet.
And that's a skill.
Because I don't always use them. I rent them. There's creative ways, but you need to learn. You just need to learn about your product. That's good.
When to rent. Don't do it for this, but do it for this. Learn how those things can work in your favor, because it's a commitment.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Awesome. Guys, thank you so much. We're 5 years and going strong. And I mean it. If anybody wants to come on the show and have us talk DVC with you, I think we'd all enjoy
that.
that.
Would be fun.
We don't bite.
No, we
We
don't.
drink, but we don't
Hard.
All right, Rebecca, where can somebody find
Joe
you?
does, but what can you do?
Yeah, that's true. Rebecca, where can people find you?
People can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Tequila Becca, or over at Looper Nation Live on Facebook. And I am always available to chat. Just reach out and give me a message.
Oh, fantastic. Emily Hicks, where can people find you?
I am on Looper Nation Live as well, Resort Loop Rocketeers, and dreaming of my next Disney vacation and constantly, configuring different combinations on the DVC member site.
Oh, love it. Brad Coates.
Yeah, the proverbial Looper Nation Live is a great place. I am Papa Mouse 1 on Twitter, but probably the better way to reach me, just papamouse101@hotmail.com. If you ever have questions or want to know anything, any kind of information, feel free to reach out. And hanging out with the My DVC podcast with the crew over there, because I don't get enough opportunities to talk to DVC here. We just do it once a month.
That's true.
Just
Not enough.
That's true. That's true. Chad does a great job over there. And Joe Quattrochi, where can people find you?
Oh, well, Brad's throwing shade at Tim over here.
No.
No.
Leave it.
All
Still the
love.
best show right here.
All love.
Wants more.
We don't do it enough.
More.
You can find me. I have Twitter. I'm never on it. It's Twitter at Joe Quat, but Instagram is Joe Quat. I've told people on the other listeners on the other podcasts, if you want to follow me there, also send me a message, because I get a lot of spam for some reason on my Instagram. Sorry. So Instagram at Joe Quat. You can also find me over at the Disney Dads podcast. I'm a new co-host over there. You can email me as well, DisneyDadJoe@gmail.com, and also over at the Mickey Dudes podcast.
You are all over the place, my friend.
I love it, man.
He's everywhere.
I love talking Disney. It's great. I mean, it's with everything going on in the world, Tim, it's a lot of fun to talk about something you love. So
Absolutely. Anyway, I'm Tim Scott, Facebook, Twitter, the website, ResortLoop.com. I mean it. If you want to be on the show, let me know. Tim at ResortLoop.com. You've been listening to the Gateway to the Magic. Take us out.
see you, everybody.
See everybody.
Look at that. 5 years, we got it. Nailed it.
Hell yeah.
We got it nailed down.
Woohoo!
Vacation memories will stay with you and your family for a lifetime. The Resort Loop Travel Group was created with this in mind. Our fee-free services will relieve you of the stress and confusion of finding and booking the best vacation at the best price. After booking, we will continue to monitor for ways to save you even more on your vacation. We will check for any upcoming packages and discounts to save you as many vacation dollars as possible. Resort Loop Travel Group, gateway to your magical vacation memories. Get a quote, or for more information, visit ResortLoopTravelGroup.com.